Yo, what's happening, guys? RTJJ Jiu-Jitsu coaches here. Have a chat. So, hi, guys. How's everyone doing?
Good, man.
No one wants to answer because we've already been
Good.
talking for 10 minutes. So, we talk about competition today, guys.
A good topic.
As long as I can talk about my default silver in grip 2019.
Sure, we can discuss default medals. So, everyone here has competed multiple times, haven't they? So, how do you find it's like? Has it been valuable to you for your jiu-jitsu career, for your learning?
I'd say absolutely. Obviously, it depends on like your mindset for it all. Sorry, my missus is in the room as well. But from our last time we were chatting, when we talked about you either win or learn, it's like it for me. It gives me a good kind of perspective for me to like aim my training towards. Because if you make mistakes in competition, you obviously don't want to repeat the same mistake twice. So, you take whatever you learn in competition back to training, and it just helps you kind of get yourself in focus as to where you want to go next. At least for me, anyway.
Also gives you like the drive in it to get back.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I've always found after competitions, especially ones I've done the worst in, I'm back in that gym Monday training harder than ever.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
idea, Dean?
Who, me? I'm telling my daughter to turn Dragon Ball Z Kakarot down.
What? Is it good?
Yeah, it
Save
is
that
good,
chat for another time.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like always driven me to train harder when I come back.
It's a great motivator to train hard when a competition's coming up and to tighten up your diet and obviously making sure you're on weight, and it makes you train hard for a certain event, but also gives you that motivation if you don't do well to train harder to do better the next time. So I know every time I do badly in a competition, and this happened a lot, the first thing I do is I'll book onto the next competition straight away. So the last competition I did before lockdown, I did shit in. I've tampered myself. I'm dying to get back in there, and I can't. So as soon as they open back up, I'm jumping straight back in there because I've got that.
But would you call Grapple Fest a competition, man? Because to me, you performed well. You just
No, well,
shit happens, doesn't it?
I got choked out in a couple of minutes, so I want to avenge that myself. I want to justify myself to be on that platform. I want to be able to perform how I know I can perform. So I need to get back in there and throw myself back into a competitive environment as soon as I possibly can.
I think the biggest thing for me, it gives me a purpose when I turn up training day in, day out. It gives me something to focus on. When I think of strategy and I think about what I'm going to do, I think I learned early on that, the first few tournaments I turned up to, you stand on the mat and I think, I get my grips and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I going to do now? I've got no idea where I'm going. I'm just
goes out the window, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And then that allowed me to go away and start thinking about, okay, then, well, when a competition's coming up, what do I want to work on? What is my game plan? What's my strategy going to be? And it's helped me actually to, in some regards, build a game, let me get good at things and refine things a little bit so that I've at least got something to fall back on when I'm in that environment. And I think Tickle's touched on it as well. I think the conditioning element becomes much more important to me as well. That's been probably my worst experience of tournaments is gassing. I hate it. And even now, if I'm going to compete, my biggest fear is not losing or getting choked. Yeah, it's just gassing. I hate being in that environment and feeling helpless. I'm starting to take that a bit more serious. And
also, like with your grips, innit, where you're like super clenched up in a competition, you're super stiff, as if training, you've done this million times, but you're like super clenched up and you just burn everything out within like 90 seconds.
Yeah, I was going to say that because I think on that note, like of getting your cardio up and stuff, I think a lot of people put a lot of effort into that and do a lot of cardio training for competitions. But I think overall, especially for experienced competitors, so say you're like a regular training blue belt or above, like normally you've got enough cardio to get you through a competition realistically. So I think most of the time when people gas, same in MMA, is it's more from intention than actual lack of fitness. Yeah, because conversely, I went to a competition once where I'd been injured for a long time, and I thought I was going to gas really badly, and I was fine because I'd kind of gone into it thinking I was going to, there's no chance. I hadn't trained for about 8 months. I didn't win, but like as far as cardio goes, I was fine because I was just really relaxed. So I think that's a big part of that. Is I think a lot of the time And I think it's a mistake people make when they start competing is they'll compete gas. So then they're like, oh, I don't want to compete for a while now. I'm going to get my cardio up. And they train for 6 months and they compete again and they gas again. Whereas what they should have done is a competition every month. Would have been more, better than doing an extra cardio session every week.
A big part of it is the adrenaline dump, because you have that fight or flight reflex, and you need to fight because you can't run off the mat, because can you imagine? But so you get that adrenaline dump, and if you're not doing that regular competition, that adrenaline dump is massive every time. So when I was getting ready for Grapple Fest, I was competing as much as I could, so at least like once a month. But like I think I did like
you were smashing it.
Yeah, I did like 5 or 6 competitions in 3 months, or maybe two and a bit months, and I felt really like the last couple of competitions I did, I felt very much at home at the mat. I was just rolling then. It wasn't the adrenaline wasn't like really up there for every fight. It was just another match.
Yeah, and I think for sure that's the way that's the way to go. That's the way to get yourself conditioning.
Yeah,
isn't going to be a problem in competition. Is just to compete, be used to it, like you say, so you don't get that a massive adrenaline dump.
100%.
And the other thing I think, I personally think competition is good for it. It touches on what we were talking about last week, or whenever last time we were chatting. Is it helps with that appraisal of yourself, because you could have a round in training and walk away from it thinking, that was fine. I was happy with how that went, and realistically, in a competition, you lost that fight. And I think when you got that black and white result, you can't really argue, can you? Because you could easily roll with someone in training and convince yourself that you did fine and you had a good performance, but in competition it could be a loss. And I think that's a sort of good thing to see, because as much as jiu-jitsu isn't just about competition, to judge yourself and your improvement, you need to have like absolutes rather than just like a wishy-washy feeling and sort of deny yourself a little bit, lie to yourself and say like, oh yeah, if I'd been going flat out from the beginning, like I would never have swept me, etc., etc. So do you find that, like, guys from, like you've already said, from competition, you get a real idea of exactly what level of jiu-jitsu you're at?
I think it's. I remember one match I had before, and it showed big holes in my game. And I was obviously I had loads on my blue belt, but I won 21-0. I won the match 21 or 27. It might have been more than that. and I come away from it thinking, my control is really poor.
Yeah, you should never have let them escape that much.
It was 21 because that's what kept happening. It was essentially like sweep, pass, or whatever, and then scramble, and then rinse and repeat for the whole match. And I was really tired at the end of it as well. And then I come away with it thinking, why can I just hold this guy down? Why can I just grind the result out?
Mate, a win's a win, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but even so, it just got me thinking. I need to be able to control that environment. I need to be able to control the person much better, and I focus a lot on it. Actually, that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned. Actually, so when you say win or learn, actually learning in winning, that was a really big thing for me. That match.
Yeah, for sure, and I mean that's it's a good thing as well. You can see that you can win a fight and still look back and not be happy and see things to improve. Because I think a lot of people would walk away from that and just be happy. They'd be like, "Oh my god, I just wrecked someone who's over 20-0."
Yeah, just post a photo on Instagram of the scoreboard.
Yeah,
standard.
Like you say, if you've scored that many points, like you say, if you've scored that many points, then they escaped, didn't they? So.
Yeah.
I think one thing that definitely helps when you're training for a competition as well, like you touched on it, Rob, is about score. It's like when you actually spar in the club to keep score. So do it to a timer. Yeah. Get one of the guys who's not rolling that points to the corner you. Get someone to ref it and keep score. Makes a lot of difference. Then you got to
I try and do it in my head as well. Like
especially for advantages, because I think that's something like from my time refereeing. I've seen a lot of that, where people lose a fight just because they gave away an advantage they never needed to give away, or not picking up an advantage. They could have secured themselves an advantage and they didn't. So I think definitely, like, sort of considering, like, maybe not in that intensity style, but for rules wise, it's good to consider your roles in training as if they're being judged under competition rule set.
One thing I like really work on leading up to a competition is not like, say if I get swept, it's like really come up onto my arm, back up, try and get a guard, stop that like pass or like sweep within that 3 seconds. Do you know what I mean? My hips are always up high. And that's what I find really is good for like cardio training, is rolling like that, like getting sweat and like really coming up, or like for getting your guard passed and like not accepting our guard pass, fighting for the guard retention. And then I find like that's the really best way for cardio, because it's always like someone's pushing back at you as well.
That's really hard on top as well, trying to finish that. So we finish that. Our last 10% is the hard part.
I find that interesting when you're at competitions, watching higher belts roll as well, and when they're competing and how hard they fight not to give those points up, and you know how much.
Yeah, look at the world level champion, like world level. Like they'll win by like 1 advantage, 2 advantage, because they just fight for like not giving up points.
So different aspect now, guys. What's your sort of maybe like day before, day of the fight, warm up, etc., etc.? What's your sort of competition prep beyond, like, you know, once all the training's done outside the academy? What, any stuff you like to do?
I like to just relax. Like I go to a spa, like, and have like a sauna and a jacuzzi. Go for a little walk to stay loose, and just keep it like really light exercise. Like I don't want to like just laze about, do nothing, get weak. I just like want to just be a little bit active, not breaking a sweat so much, but just keeping a little bit warm, stretching out.
Can't say I have much of a strategy. I probably need one based on my recent results.
Yeah, I think the only thing I do is I train up until the Thursday. Usually the competition's on the Saturday or Sunday, so I train until the Thursday. And then the Friday, if it's competition on the Saturday, I'll just have a light meal in the evening, nothing too heavy. Unless I'm like competing at ultra heavyweight, and then I do whatever the hell I want. But yeah, it's just all about just keeping moving, just keeping active.
Or it could be like Grapple Fest, where we like literally had a 3-course meal before.
Yeah.
The day of the competition.
I really struggle to eat. I do on the day. I get the nerves, and that's probably a result of not competing enough. But I get the butterflies, the nerves. I really struggle. I generally don't eat at all before.
Get the nerves the night before a competition.
Yeah.
The night before I'm fine. On the day I can't eat.
Yeah, that's the same as me. That's the same. The night before I'm okay as well. And
I've told a lot of people before, I quite like to eat, I just eat chocolate a lot of the time before competition. So it's like a lot of calories without having to have too much mass, because I don't like training after eating food. So, you know, I certainly wouldn't want to go into a competition having a full meal. I don't like to eat sort of 3 to 4 hours before I train.
Yeah, I'm the same. I can't eat anywhere near training or competing. So
quite often, yeah, my pre-competition food is like a Yorkie bar or something. But energy in that.
Super dense in calories.
Yeah, exactly.
I have like a porridge as soon as I get up, and that's about it usually.
Who was it? A British MMA fighter. I think it was Cage Warriors, and he was like sick chocolate. Like as he lost the fight, and the other person was it Paddy Pimblett was sick as he lost the fight.
I've seen a few people be sick. So what was there something else I was going to say about competition mistakes? What's the mistakes people make in competition?
Not knowing the rules.
Yeah, that's actually one I was going to bring up. Like, that's the number one. I've never known another sport where so many of the competitors don't know the rules, and so many of the coaches, in fact, don't even know the rules.
Yep, scream at the ref for the guard pass, and it was a reversal, or sweep when it was a reversal, and all that type of stuff.
I don't think I know the rules still 100%, if I'm honest.
I don't think anyone does an IBJJF, mate. Honestly, don't.
The core rules, you've got to know the core rules.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of, I think a lot of competitors just don't.
The point scoring, I think you should know.
Like having the hooked in on the back and that type of stuff. And
I think as well, like I think it comes from that a little bit, like that lack of knowledge, but it brings other bad sort of characteristics, or I think now sort of bad mindsets in, because where there's that whinginess of coaches just constantly going on and on and on. And I've coached plenty of times my students where I think either the point scored wrong, advantage scored wrong, result was wrong, or whatever. and unless it's like a total robbery, or I think there is legitimately a chance that they might change this because it was obviously like the table didn't put the score on or something. I think you just got to let it go, haven't you? You've just got to accept it.
But then it's like also the other side of our Rob, where like the referees don't know the scores. Like at a local competition, it was 2 points for a back take.
Yeah, but it's frustrating. But I just think it's like sometimes it's too much of an easy fallback for people, to say, oh, I lost that fight because of the bad score, bad referee. And even though I think that might be the reason, I just think it's like it brings a weak mindset in. Then I think because like realistically, you can make
excusable.
because you can make it so that there's no way, there's no way. There's some fights where there's no way a referee could rob someone of that. They'd have to just like blatantly DQ them for no reason at all.
Unless you score back take for 2 points.
Well, if you do Dean's method, pass the guard, let them scramble out of it, and then pass the guard again, get loads of points, and then you're never going to lose.
Yeah. But that's the thing, innit? If you are that dominant in a fight, then you can't get robbed. Like a lot of times, when people talk about robberies and stuff, they're talking about like an advantage that didn't get scored, or a 0-0 finish that a decision's gone the other way. You think realistically,
At the end of the day, you shouldn't leave it up to the ref, should you?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's a definitive way of ending a match to win, and if you don't do it, then that's your own fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about people that don't compete, they missing out?
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
What I find as well is like it's a high as well, whether you like win, lose, or draw. It's like it's the highest of highs, isn't it? But also the lowest of lows. Like it absolutely sucks when you train, but you've also like feel proud in yourself for actually stepping on your mat and pulling yourself out there. And it's feeling like generally some people just won't want to feel and choose not to feel pulling themselves like in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah, because I think one of the hardest things in competition is like you train really hard. If you're doing really well in sparring and everyone's telling you, oh, it's going to be amazing, you can do really well. Can't wait to find out how you do, and you go and you lose. And then you go back into the academy and then everyone's, oh, how'd the competition go on the weekend? And you've got to tell 30 plus people individually that you lost your first fight.
Yeah.
And I think that there's definitely that, some people just want to never face that, do they? Just keep away from it.
But then it also gives you something to train for as well if you're going to compete. Gives you a better excuse to train.
Yeah, I think you just got to accept that loss is part of competing.
I think everyone should compete at least once. Everyone who does jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for sure.
At least once.
I don't think you do jiu-jitsu unless you've competed.
Yeah, I mean, it is made to fight
controversial.
Someone, isn't it?
You can't say you sparred in jiu-jitsu unless you've competed.
Yeah, I see that. Because I think one of the worst excuses for not competing is I'm training for self-defense. I'm only interested in self-defense.
But then,
so you think what's
closer?
No
better self-defense.
Yeah, what's closer? What's closer to a real fight? Training with someone in an academy, or in a competition where the person definitely wants to beat you. They definitely don't want to help you at all.
And they also know jiu-jitsu. So.
And you get the adrenaline.
100%, or 110%.
At the same time, I don't think I know very many people who have competed and didn't enjoy it, like win or lose.
Mm-hmm.
I know, especially in our academy, there are loads of people who've gone to comps and done really, really well. Then there are people who have lost and they come out saying they want to do it again. And it's like, it's definitely...
It's a buzz, man, isn't it? It's a high.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to come up against either, do you? I think people should compete more than once because you never know how it's... Hold on. Give me 2 seconds, guys.
Well, Dean's a little bit.
Carry on.
There's something I was going to say then, I can't remember it.
Obviously, you've had the most success, Rob, like multiple British champion in there. Like, what's your mindset going into competition? Like, how do you prep as well? You've asked us. But...
So as far as training goes, I'll just put a bit more intensity in when I'm, the sort of weeks leading up to it. Go for more submissions. And then I do visualization a lot. So especially like sort of the last sort of week or a few days leading up to it, I'll just constantly go through it in my head, constantly imagine myself stepping on the mat and touching hands, and then I don't really game plan other than, you know, maybe pull guard or take down. You probably pull guard.
Don't swear it, Rob.
Beyond that, there's nothing. You know, beyond that, there's no plan. So then when I do my visualization, I just think about hand slap, bump knuckles,
Yeah.
and then I'm on the podium.
Cool.
I don't think about like this is how the fight's going to go, because I think that's dangerous. You know, I think, oh, I'm going to pull guard and go to X guard, and then all of a sudden the fight starts and you're on top in their close guard or something. It's going to mess you up. But yeah, I just visualize seeing myself walk, and then when I do walk on the mat, you know, I'm just 100% confident that I'm going to beat that person. I don't really.
Rob, I find your history really. Sorry to say, I find your history really interesting, given that like your white belt and your blue belt results weren't particularly good, and then from purple you've had like fantastic results. What do you think changed between that?
So you're going to bring that up now, Dean? You're going to bring up that when I was rubbish.
I still am rubbish. So
I think actually, I was talking about this a little bit the other day. So I think like when I first started as a white belt, I just didn't have good results. I don't know why really. It's quite a long time ago. I can't really think back of any particular reason why I wasn't doing that well. So yeah, white belt, blue belt didn't get any good results, and then purple belt initially didn't get any particularly good results. I think it's kind of that was the point where I kind of learned to train better with lower grades, because I was a purple belt and then most people I was training with were white belts. So I think there was a lot of stuff I was getting away with that when it was in competition against purple belts was just no chance. And then I think it's just part, like when I was a sort of experienced purple belt, I just became comfortable competing, and then kind of became a lot easier all of a sudden. So I went from having like no good results at all, a couple of silvers, to mainly gold. And it was quite a quick step, quite a quick change. And then I went to brown belt and had gold straight away, went to black belt, had gold straight away. So I think it was like more just getting super comfortable with competing. And I think for anyone as well, like from the first few wins give you confidence where you realize, you know, I can do it. Because like I think, you know, until you have competed and you've done it, you know, you've won a competition where you've had to win a few fights, it's kind of like you don't get the understanding of exactly how hard it is. I think some people don't really appreciate how tough it is to win a competition. It's like the classic, you know, when people would say like someone, like they're a world champion, they're like, oh, but they're only a blue belt. You think, okay, you go and beat 6 or 7 people that are the best at that level in the world that have trained full time for it. It's really, really hard. You know, I think once you get that confidence, you think, okay, I can do this. I know I can be in this first round, and then by the end of it, I'll be the gold medalist. So that helped me a lot. And other than that, I can't think of anything specific. There's nothing specific.
Yeah, the comfort competing is massive. So like my first, I think 3 or 4 tournaments at purple belt, I didn't win a match. And then when I started winning, I just started feeling more comfortable. Yeah, just kind of like builds from there. So 100% agree with that.
Goes back to mindset, doesn't it? Mindset. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you go into a competition thinking you're going to lose, you are probably going to lose.
Oh yeah, totally.
You need to go in there with at least some kind of belief, you know, you're there to win, and that you're going to.
Yeah, and I think that ties into there's some attitudes around competition like I really hate when people say things like this. So like the classics are, and it goes back to a little bit default medals, is people where they say like, oh, there's only 3 people in my category, so I've definitely got a medal. Or people would be like, oh, I only need to win 1 fight and I've definitely got a medal. You think, well, you know, if you're going to go to compete, you have to set your goal as winning gold. You can still be happy.
What's the point in competing if you're not going to win?
Because you can still be happy with less than that. You know, you can still come away and say, look, I'm happy I didn't get submitted, because maybe that was an improvement from your last fight. But you should always set the bigger goal. You should always set the goal to win the competition. Because like you say, what realistically is the point in entering? Otherwise, it should be for experience. I'm totally a believer in like when you're competing, especially like white belt, blue belt, the number one thing you should be trying to get out of it is experience. But if you're not on the day trying to win, then you're not really doing the competition properly. So
that kind of brings us to default medals as well, doesn't it? And how disgusting some people's behaviour is sometimes to get a default medal.
Yeah,
Like,
and as I said as well, isn't it? There's two distinct different types of default medals. So you can have a default bronze or a default silver, and you could have had a hell of a tough fight.
or a default gold. I've had default gold before now.
Yeah, but default gold is something totally different, isn't it? Like default bronze or
Like-
silver, you could have fought unbelievably hard and lost by an advantage. But if you got a default gold, it just means you've just done nothing.
Yeah.
Training for a while now, like I'm always more impressed on how many fights you've actually won than what medal you actually get.
Yeah.
Like you get some divisions, like those 76 and 80 kilogram divisions, adult, are stacked. It's always like 20 people per division. And if you're going in winning like multiple fights, but only ending up with a bronze rather than winning one fight and having gold,
Can you just?
I'm always more
Yeah.
impressed on winning.
Dark room, my TV is the only thing that's on.
You're back. Yeah, exactly. Because there's some people that come away from a competition and they've got a gold medal and they didn't have a fight, and then there's other people going home with nothing and they might have had 4 or 5 fights.
Yeah.
I think I've won 3 fights at a competition and never medaled.
Yeah.
I think I was at the first Cheltenham.
Yeah, I had there's a guy before. Tickles definitely remember him. Adam West, and he had over 2 competitions. He had 14 fights, 10 wins, 9 submissions, no medal.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Crazy.
Was that a blue belt and middleweight?
Yeah, I think he had. It was 4th place twice, I think.
I think the
Do you
problem
remember that category you was in, Dean, at Grip with Ollie?
Yeah.
That was a mad layout, weren't
I
it?
think there was like
Everyone was just,
was 17 or 19.
but like it was like people who had fought twice and all in it. Like it was so confusing how it all worked out.
I think I got to the final and I think I had 4 matches. I think Ollie had to fight into the category. I think so. I know Ollie ended up having 1 match more than me, but I was in the final. So,
brackets turn out is a big way as well.
Yeah, that can happen, especially with repechage.
yeah, that's what it was. Repechage. And
I think is there any other sport where they give out default goals? Because I'd never heard of it before until I started jiu-jitsu.
I can't think of it.
can't think of any.
Well, PE in school these days, I suppose. Participation medals and all that crap.
That's all they are,
Of
isn't
course
it?
you do, innit?
Your
Participation
default medals.
Well, a default gold is just a yes, you signed up, here's a medal.
Yeah,
you
thanks.
may as well
I
Thanks for
paid
giving us money.
£40 for a bit of scrap metal.
For like a £2
yeah.
maximum medal.
Yeah, some tin metal, some tin alloy metal.
Brian, I've been aware of people in my years of training that will enter tournaments and then turn up on the day, or they will enter tournaments, and if they see someone else has entered, they will pull out because they're chasing the medal. I can name names as well. I know of 2 people off the tip of my tongue.
I know someone in particular.
Pull out, change division.
Yeah,
Loads of
Who
it,
and some default medals.
what, so that they don't have to have a match.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
there was a guy. I can't remember before. It was like back an American guy, and he was part of 10th Planet for a while, and then Eddie Bravo kicked him out. But he had
Submissions 101 guy.
no.
Oh.
He was a fake brown belt. Brandon maybe something or something like that. But he did loads of competitions and had gold, silver, gold. And someone looked into it and they said all of these competitions, he was basically just entering and then jumping up to whatever weight division had only 1 or 2 people in it.
Was his name Frank Dukes?
Went
to like Kumite in the woods and come back a world champion.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find his name now.
Ari?
No, that was the 10th. That was the submission only guy. So, not long left now, guys. What's the... I can't find it. Brandon Quick. That's his name. So what's the takeaways from this for people? Everyone should compete. Give it
Everyone
a try.
should compete.
You might love it.
Train hard.
If you want to be good at it, you've got to do it regularly and get used to it.
Don't post any medals you didn't fight for.
Your mindset right. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what you got to do. Is you got to post the medal up from you, and then just post like a sort of
Dominoes, well-deserved dominoes, this was.
Yeah, just post something like that. Oh, well-deserved dominoes, guys, and a picture of the gold medal. No mention
I
of the
know
competition.
plenty of those.
Or the classic cropped out podium.
Yeah, really narrow podium picture, just the gold.
Shouldn't somewhere else be on this podium, or?
All right, cool, then, guys. Hopefully we can
Learn
get back
the
to
rule. Learn the
competing
rules.
soon.
Yes.
No.
My weight's good. I was 79.7 this morning.
Mm-hmm. I'll fight
I'm ready
Dominic
to go.
Cummings in a no time limit submission only fight.
With integrity. And instinct.
How is everyone's weight from lockdown? I've put on 6 kilograms.
I've lost weight, man.
Yeah.
I'm about the same as I was when we finished. I'm about 88
Yeah.
kilos.
I initially
So-
put loads of weight on, but I'm back now. I'm going for a sub 22-minute 5K at the moment, so I'm running like mad. And it's coming
Nice,
back, thankfully.
So yeah, mine went up massively. Then I looked on the scale, I was like, fuck's sake, I gotta go. Then I just started starving myself, and I'm good now. I'm happy.
I had 4 weeks of binge eating at the start of it, and thought, just
Yeah.
why not?
I knew
Yeah.
I knew I'd get into bad habits if I did that, so I just be on the kettlebells since the beginning.
I've been running and stuff and doing stuff every day. I just still putting on weight. I'm not doing jiu-jitsu cardio, and that was keeping the weight off me. That's my main thing.
Like
Get
I
back to
really
training.
focused on my nutrition, man, whilst my training was inconsistent. So
You've got
Yeah,
some
I've got
good
my
food you're
nutrition
posting.
better.
cheers, man. Trying different shit.
It's good fun. All right then, guys.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Nice one, guys. Always good
So-
to catch up.
See you all
Always
soon.
good.
Guys.
Looking forward to
Nice
seeing you
one, boys.
boys.
Peace
Cheerio.
out. Train hard. See you guys.
Can't wait to be chugged by you all.